The Amazing World of Gumball. The Amazing World of Gumball is one of the most popular cartoons to ever exist. It follows the adventures of a blue cat named Gumball and his family, the Wattersons. They live in the imaginary city of Elmore, where everything is weird. The show consists of 6 seasons and a total of 240 episodes, and we're going to sum up some of the most important events in it. And without further delay, bring some snacks and let's get into it. At Elmore Junior High, Gumball explains to Darwin that today they're going to break out of school. The boys mount a seesaw where Gumball flings a stake at Tina, who lunges at it. A string is tied to her tail and a roundabout is pulled in the process, spinning the roundabout rapidly enough to launch Carmen, who is standing on it. She collides with and pops Alan, who is being kissed by Masami, who bursts into tears, raining on Leslie, who sprays pollen over Rocky, making him sneeze. This blows the petals off Leslie and propels Terry into the girls' bathroom. The girls within scream and throw him into a nearby garbage can, which weighs a pair of scissors down enough for them to cut through the web of Ocho, making him fall onto a trampoline, which launches him at Banana Joe. Joe is sent flying upwards and is soon stepped on by Hector, making the giant stumble back and step onto the Watterson brothers' seesaw. This launches them, but not out of the school, onto Hector's buttocks. However, when Hector's buttocks squeezes together and makes the boys kiss, they both cry out in disgust. After this, the title Gumball is shown over a background of the sky as what would become the final notes of the opening theme of the final show play, ending the reel. Background and characters. Let's start with Gumball's parents. Richard Watterson is Gumball, Anais, and Darwin's father. He is a pink giant rabbit who spends all of his days eating fast food in front of the TV, and in case he ever gets a job, the world literally ends. As for Nicole, the kid's mom, she is a strong workaholic cat and is often strict with her kids. In the whole show, she and her daughter Anais are considered to be the only rational characters. Years ago, when Richard was a small rabbit, his father abandoned him and his mom, Granny Jojo, who, 42, was protecting him by saying that his father went to get milk. Richard believed her and still does to this day. Given how frank he wasn't a good parental figure, his absence didn't affect Richard as much as it should have. As the episodes go by, we realize that Richard's bad behavior is due to his mom's parenting. She kept pampering him even as an adult, which is what she tried to do to the kids in one of the episodes, attempting to make them as incompetent and dumb as their father. This caused a huge chaos between Granny Jojo and Nicole, which is not something uncommon. However, in the end, Granny Jojo admits that Nicole is not a bad mother. Anyway, let's get back to what really matters. One day, Nicole was headed to the karate tournament with her parents, who were overly demanding and nitpicked everything she did. On the way there, their car broke down and Nicole decided to go there running so that she wouldn't disappoint her parents. She took a shortcut, and that's where she found Richard stuck inside of a tree. Despite being in a rush, Nicole stopped to help him, and because of that, she missed the tournament. Nicole then told Richard about the unreasonable expectations her parents have for her, and he comforted her, saying that she should do whatever she wants and stop living to others' expectations. Realization hit her hard, and this will shape her future. After this incident, the two became good friends despite their differences. Richard was carefree and lazy, while Nicole was hard-working and considerate. When they hit puberty, their feelings started to go past friendship, and the two started dating. As you would guess, both of their parents opposed their relationship. Nicole's parents were old-fashioned and wanted to marry her to a banker's son to secure her future. The two kept meeting secretly and living their best life until they decided to tie the knot. Richard didn't work, so Nicole had to. She found a job at the Rainbow Factory as a saleswoman, and despite going through some financial hardships, they still overcame them. After that, they learned that Nicole was pregnant. With this newcomer, the couple purchased a house in Elmore. Their parents didn't attend their wedding, which worsened their relationship. Nicole's parents even tried to break the couple off multiple times. After many conflicts, the family overcame them. Fast forward to when Zach was born. If you guys are wondering who Zach is, it's Gumball. Gumball was an ugly newborn. That's why they named him Zach at first, and he had to stay in the hospital to get examined. In the meantime, Richard went home and made a terrible decision that would affect their financial situation. He spent the family's savings purchasing a star in the sky. A few days later, Gumball went home and started to discover the neighborhood. The Wattersons had a grumpy neighbor, Mr. Robinson. Despite what we said about Richard, he owned to his actions and he figured out how to care for Gumball. A few years later, Gumball became a hyperactive toddler, so when the parents grew tired of their son's behavior and in desperate need of sleep, they decided to get him a pet fish. Gumball is fascinated with his new pet and decides to call him Darwin. Despite Darwin being unable to respond to his owner, Gumball enjoys playing with him very much. However, one early morning, Darwin does not wake up, and Nicole and Richard realize he's dead. Not wanting to upset Gumball, Richard buys a new fish to replace the dead one without telling his son that his first fish died. After many fish end up dying because of Gumball and Richard's irresponsibility, Richard goes to the pet store to buy yet another fish. While there, he's interrupted by Larry, who tells Richard the last two fish jumped out of the tank when they saw him coming. As Richard walks home wondering how he's going to explain this to Gumball, Richard is offered a fish by a man from a mysterious van. As Richard purchases the fish, the man tells him that this fish is very special and must be treated with good care. The new Darwin is gifted as Gumball's new pet fish. Later on, Gumball is seen playing with Darwin under the kitchen table. However, he notices that Darwin is unusually intelligent for a goldfish, as he can understand everything he says. Then, Darwin demonstrates his ability to talk. Gumball, amazed at this, wants to surprise his parents and tells Darwin to look as dumb as possible. As he goes to tell Nicole, Richard walks into the kitchen and sees Darwin floating motionless in his bowl, thinking he's dead. Richard almost flushes him down the toilet, but Gumball stops him at the last second. Nicole then decides to take a family picture. When she tells everyone to say cheese, Darwin jumps out of his bowl to say it. Nicole and Richard are startled by this and accidentally throw him out of the bowl. He hits the lever, flushing the toilet bowl, into which he falls. They thought Darwin would never get back, but this little fish was so smart, grew in size, grew legs, and generally adapted to life outside of water and managed to go back home.
I'm on my way. I've got my lungs and that's a start, and I've got...
The Wattersons added a new member to the family. This new member becomes also morally grounded in general. He is typically the one to stop his siblings from doing anything wrong, empathetic. He's very affectionate of others, as seen in his interactions with his family. Nicole and Richard enrolled Darwin in the same class as Gumball, and the two became good friends after becoming brothers. It's safe to say that Gumball grew up to be a very imaginative, sarcastic, and optimistic person. Despite his mediocre academic performance, he can be surprisingly brilliant when it comes to formulating all sorts of mischievous schemes. A few years later, a new Watterson joined the family. Anais was a cute little bunny and a rational genius who was granted grade acceleration, and that's why she attended Elmore Junior High with her brothers. The present. In Elmore Junior High, we discover new characters such as Miss Simeon, a 1,928-year-old baboon who used to nitpick Nicole in the past and still nitpicks her kids. Nigel Brown, the principal and a hairy creature with glasses, is madly in love with Miss Simeon, and they're in a relationship. Speaking of love, Gumball is in love with Penny Fitzgerald. Their love is mutual, but it was not until later in the show that they confess their feelings and kiss on the school's stage. The kiss causes a crack in Penny's shell, which makes her parents mad and reveals her real shape, which is a glowing entity that can have wings, float, and transform into different animals. Penny is embarrassed about her identity and runs into the woods, but Gumball finds her, comforts her, and kisses her. Then Penny stops transforming into bad shapes and everything goes back to normal. As for Darwin's love interest, it's Carrie, the 300-year-old ghost who only feels pain. Gumball thinks that Darwin's interested in Terry, so he tries to set them up together. Gumball asks Carrie of all people for help, who despite agreeing to help him, tries to sabotage Gumball's plans. Though jealous at first, she reluctantly brews a potion that will make Darwin and Terry fall in love, as she only wants to see Darwin happy. However, once Gumball realizes that Darwin never liked Terry to start with and never abandoned his feelings for Carrie, the two set out to separate them without progress. Finally, Carrie concedes and begins to cry at the thought that she has lost Darwin forever, disappointed that she did not act sooner. Fortunately, her tear, being a sign of love, breaks Darwin's spell. Encouraged by Gumball, Carrie asks Darwin out on a date, to which he gladly accepts, and they share a kiss, and the two are officially a couple. The episodes. Now that we're done with love stories, let's go deeper into the show and review some of the best episodes. In one of the most bizarre episodes, the moon invites the viewer to observe the dreams of Elmore's citizens, and that's where we see that Gumball dreams that he's falling back into his house from outer space, waking up just before hitting the ground. Banana Joe dreams that he's trying to catch his rear end, but ends up splitting in half. Nicole dreams of relaxing on a beach, but her dream is disturbed by Richard's loud snoring and his rolling over butter on top of her. Meanwhile, Richard dreams of being dough made into a bun. Darwin dreams of sleeping in a bigger fishbowl. Larry's dream? Larry has several dreams layered inside one another until he's awoken by the donut cop. However, Larry believes he's still dreaming and behaves bizarrely, landing him in jail, and many more. Gumball accidentally posts an embarrassing video of himself online, which quickly goes viral. Determined to have the video removed, Gumball seeks help from the cyber police, but they're of no help, so he decides to confront the internet in the physical world and finds its address on the computer. However, the internet tries to distract them with time-wasting content. Gumball and Darwin manage to leave the computer but are hindered by the internet, which takes control of traffic systems and other electrical items. The two eventually confront the internet in their room. The internet pleads with them not to unplug it, and they agree to let the video stay online. Gumball and Darwin encourage the internet to take responsibility for its actions and be nicer to people. Nicole faints upon hearing the news of Richard getting a job as a pizza delivery guy. Concerned, the family tries to support Richard in his new endeavor. However, as Richard starts delivering pizzas, strange events unfold in Elmore. Reality becomes distorted, objects defy gravity, and the fabric of the universe is at risk. Nicole becomes convinced that Richard's job is causing these anomalies and sets out to have him fired. The family embarks on a chase to catch Richard and stop the chaos he inadvertently creates. Eventually, Richard is fired and the universe is restored to normal. One day, Gumball realizes that he has trapped the town inside a video game. Together with Darwin and Anais, they set out to fix the universe that Gumball messed up by turning on the video game. Throughout their journey, they battle a flower monster, which turns out to be their friend Leslie, briefly transformed. They loot Mr. Robinson's house and take items for their quest. They also face Penny, who is possessed by his cell phone, and defeat her, so she gives them a phone to help him on his quest. They come across Allison, who asks them to find her missing pigeons. Gumball, being a gamer, is distraught by the side quest, but eventually completes it. They continue their journey and reach the Awesome Store, where they discover that the Game Child console is the true villain. They engage in a final battle, defeat the Game Child, and complete the game. Gumball and Darwin encounter a pair of siblings named Chi-Chi and Ribbit, who copy everything they do and say. They soon discover that this copycat family is making money online by imitating the Watterson family's adventures. The Wattersons confront their doppelgangers, leading to a battle between the two families. However, Anais suggests that the copycats imitate them out of flattery rather than malice, so they resort to living their lives dangerously to outdo the copycats, but the doppelgangers somehow survive all their dangerous acts. In a final attempt, the Wattersons drive a speeding truck towards an unfinished bridge, but Anais manages to disconnect the truck from the tank, saving them from disaster. In the end, the Wattersons are relieved to find that the copycat family's show has disappeared from the internet, possibly due to their accident. However, Gumball and Darwin's voices glitch, indicating a change in voice actors. Sarah discovers a magic notebook from the Awesome Store that makes whatever she draws happen. She starts writing love stories, and the effects of her writing are seen in real time throughout Elmore. Gumball and Darwin witness several unexpected love confessions and realize that Rocky cannot see his dad cheating on his mom, so he throws Idaho at Rocky to distract him. Later, Gumball and Darwin encounter two OCs who resemble them, claiming to be Gumball's cousin and his girlfriend. Gumball sees a drawing of his adult self and Carrie's adult self with a baby, causing Darwin to freak out and confront Sarah, tries to fix the situation by destroying a page, but it only causes pain to the anime groom Darwin. The police arrive and Sarah gives the notebook to Gumball, who writes that everything that happened was just fan fiction and everything goes back to normal. Now that the show is getting more serious and depth demanding, let's talk about The Void. So we all know that cartoon characters don't realize that they're in a cartoon and that there is always a villain, but what happens when the character that gains consciousness is the villain? Chaos happens and the whole world falls to shambles. Rob is our villain and he's the first to realize that they are cartoons. Rob was one of the receptive and nice characters, but he got sent to the void where useless things and mistakes in the show get thrown away. So how do Gumball and Darwin discover it? One day, Mr. shows up with a foil hat on and tells them about his conspiracy and that many people and things are missing. He also tells them to look into the matter, and when they bring the school yearbook and try to figure out who is missing, they do, and it's Molly. However, nobody in the school remembers her. They head to her house. On the way, Mr. Small says that Elmore is not a normal place that makes mistakes, and after that, they find a gap where the world is folded on itself. They open the gap to find all the mistakes the world has ever made. They find Molly frozen in time because she thinks she just met them yesterday. She was thrown away because the world thinks she was a mistake because she's boring, therefore she gets sent to the void. Anyways, they escape the void on a van and try to tell everyone about it, but the void sucks the tinfoil hats so they forget everything about it. The hats are a mistake after all. Later on, Gumball and Darwin are accused of stealing money, and to prove their innocence they head to the basement because they think someone else is living in their house, and that's where Rob is introduced. Rob is a nobody and has no place in the world without a personality. He doesn't recognize them or the world. Gumball and Darwin suggest that the only personality left is the evil one and that he should become their mortal enemy so that there's a reason for his existence. After this, he remembers his past self, and with the flashback, we learn that he tried to get their attention and get saved too, but they were focused on Molly. Rob manages to escape the void with them with a disfigured appearance, and after agreeing to become evil, he swears vengeance on them. Rob isn't a good villain. His plans always fail, and he can't fight. However, he is determined to become an unforgettable villain, and he actually does when he finds a magical remote that allows him to go back in time and ruin everyone's life. He causes a traffic accident, makes Gumball's parents divorce, and Penny breaks up with him upon him seeing kiss another girl. Gumball realizes that he and Rob are frozen in time and then fight over the remote. After that, Rob opens up the void and throws the remote in it. Gumball finds the remote, turns back time, fights Rob, and sends him back into the void. Gumball, being the good guy that he is, jumps into the void and saves Rob, who acknowledges his kindness, tries to undo everything, and destroys the remote. Fast forward to where we discover that Barbara, Banana Joe's mom, can draw what happens in the future. In her basement, she has many paintings, and in one of them we see the Watterson family with terrified expressions, holding hands while the world is collapsing and falling into the void. Back to Rob, who apparently becomes the bad guy again. Rob learns about her power, kidnaps her, and forces her to paint pictures of it. Barbara's paintings predict the future and can even directly cause them. Rob reveals that the reason he kidnapped Barbara is much bigger than Gumball, but they erase him with brush swipes over a painting. And again, Gumball, being the good guy that he is, again asks Barbara to paint him into existence. She does, but in the painting, Rob seems to be falling into the void. The boys say that they will see him in the future, to which Barbara replies that there is no such thing as a future. The screen cuts before the episode ends. The end of Gumball is under the title of The Inquisition. In this episode, a real-life character named Superintendent Evil is introduced, and it arrives to set new rules in Elmore Junior High because of its unruliness. This newcomer brings a device that changes the character's design into a more realistic one, and then into humans made of flesh and meat. Luckily, things don't go as planned because Gumball and Darwin are able to fight the characters by having them all do cartoony and zany things. Gumball then destroys the device and turns their friends to normal. Later, everyone chases Superintendent Evil. He falls after slipping on a Banana Joe's peel, and when to help him stand up, Gumball takes off his costume to discover that it's none other than Rob and not an actual human being. Rob tries to explain that he is actually trying to save them. However, before he can explain further, the void swallows him, and we only hear him scream, "It started," and that ends the episode.
Oh no, it started.
This reminds us of the painting that Barbara painted of him last time. She also had some paintings of Superintendent Evil in her garage, so that we know that the events Rob was trying to save Elmore from are the events he was trying to fix the last time before the void sucked him, and that the reason he wanted Barbara to paint is that he wanted to know what was going to happen in the future so he could have a better shot at fixing it. This explains too what he said to Gumball about kidnapping her for a bigger reason. Rob was trying to do the right thing, and he had the right intentions, so he wasn't the bad guy after all. Anyways, remember the painting where the Wattersons are terrified? Since her painting's predictions are always right so far, we can assume that this is going to happen. Here we have a theory about the void that just makes sense. We know the purpose of the void, which is sucking mistakes and useless things in characters. Rob was aware that the show was about to end, therefore the entire city was about to fall into the void, which explains why Barbara said there would be no future. Rob knew that the only way to save the show was by changing the characters' designs to fit the live action, but before his plans could work, the void sucked him, indicating the end of the show. After the show, The Amazing World of Gumball, the movie follows, where Gumball's biggest fan finds the show's missing episode and accidentally opens a portal connecting his world to Gumball's cartoon world. Upon meeting his heroes, our superfan decides to team up with Gumball, Darwin, Anais, Richard, and Nicole to save them from a nefarious force overtaking Elmore. This was everything. We hope you enjoyed this video and see you in another one.